Dude, you are getting well. Dudes, I'm so excited for our guest today. I met her at a music festival, I think in the hospitality tent. We were hanging out. She had the coolest outfit on, full of color and full of life. And I thought, who is this really cool human being? And we kept running into each other throughout the festival to where at a point I felt like it was just getting silly. And luckily we got to know each other, and she's up to some really cool things. So without further ado, this is TaraLeigh Weathers. Hi, TaraLeigh.
Hi, everyone. I like to say that, like, that kind of thing where you're constantly bumping into someone and then you, like, I don't know how we look to each other up when we do not the same work, but, like, we're in that same sphere. I just say magic is normal, and I'm so grateful. Because it's like a magical thing, but I don't like to tell the universe that it's so crazy that you're capable of amazing things. I wouldn't want anyone to say that about me when I do something amazing. I want to be like, yeah, that's so normal, and I'm so grateful. So that was a magic is normal, and I'm so grateful experience that we had at Shikori Hills.
Oh, I love that. Yeah, and I want to name the festival. Yeah, Shikori Hills Finger Lakes, Shikori Hills Grassroots Festival. In North Carolina, and that was a really, really magical place. And I remember you saying, like, magic is normal, and I thought, yes,
I
yes.
said it there too.
Yeah, oh yeah. I mean, it was a course, and I was also a professional magician. I think I may have mentioned that to you at some point.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah.
From like age, I guess I started when I was like 12 or 13. Declaring myself that, but I really started reading about magic and shamans and that energy, and I was just the weird kid. But as I got older, and I was like, oh, other people believe this too, even as adults. This is so cool. So I just love, and we met you with your friend Haley Jade, and I remember her saying, like, yeah, and she's not just like, the thing about TaraLeigh is she's not just like this at the festival, she's like this all the time. And I thought that was such a great compliment. And I said, well, I definitely want to get to know who this is. And then we were like told to go see Annie in the Water, and I was just dancing my ass off, and I looked next to me, and like you were too, and I was just like, hell yeah, this human's awesome.
Yeah, those are my boys in the Adirondacks. I've seen them a lot in Burlington, Vermont, where I live.
Yo, yeah? Oh, that's so cool. We ended up playing, so we lost our car keys that night. They fell out of my pocket in the woods, and it allowed us to stay and have this all-night jam with all of the guys from Miami and the Cuban guys, and Annie in the Water stayed all night, and we just had all these drums out, and we literally played till like 4 or 5 in the morning, which I haven't done in like, I can't even think the last time that happened. So I kept asking, what's the gift here out of this experience, even when, we need to leave or we plan to and couldn't get into our car. And I just kept seeing all the magic around, and of just, the gift was just to be present in an awesome thing that was happening and bonding with these new people. And it was really all because of you all telling us to definitely go see them play. I had a hunch to go anyway, but I just loved that. It was with such volition that I was like, oh, wow, I guess I really should see them. And it was really magical. So I just love that that's brought us together today. So for those people who don't know anything about you, how do you like to describe yourself and what you're up to in the world?
Well, my husband and I have a joke because we like to watch the travel shows, and he's like, hello, I am Jen Weathers, and I am a financial, wait, now I can't remember what he does. A financial whatever he does. And I'm like, and I'm TaraLeigh, and I'm weird.
That's awesome.
But I do have a better description of what it is that I do. So basically I kind of hold space for people to manifest and realize and create a plan for having their dream life. So whether it's that they have ADHD and they want to see if they have what it takes to be an entrepreneur, whether it's they have a big dream and need someone to hold them accountable with accountability coaching, whether it's they want to go to a retreat that's songwriting, or a wild woman retreat, or a sparkle in the sun retreat where adulting doesn't exist. Because if all of your needs are taken care of, who would emerge, and how do you bring that back into your regular life? When you have everything, and the group therapy podcast is about live music and how that there is the health and wellness connection, and how you can even bring that, like, make that live music experience a really powerful one that can motivate you in your life. So I think that's like kind of all the things. And then I'm a rap star with my husband in our band.
Oh, you just cut out that part, the name of the band. So you're a rock star with your husband, and tell us the name of the group, The Middle Ages.
Yeah, The Middle Ages.
Yes. I loved that. And that's something I was like, every time I kept learning more about you, I was like, I just wanted to know more now. And this is great. This person's awesome. Because I met you also with my wife, Cassie, and we were making music. And so I didn't want to skip over that, and how important she is in my life, and in music is, and reminding me is that is self-expression, creativity, and that you share that with your husband. That's such a rare thing. I find it very healing and therapeutic when channeled well. How is it for you? What's it like making music with your partner? Are there highs and lows? Is it ever really challenging?
Yeah, I mean, definitely, because when we have like an idea of a song, or if it's like a song that I wrote, but then he usually makes the music for it. So if it's different than what I thought, or there's a line that I want to say this way and he wants to say it another way, you know, we have to like work that out. So not that that's a low, but that's just something that we have to figure out together. But the best part is that I always thought it'd be so cool to be in a band, but I'm like, I don't have any talent to be in a band. Like, what would I even do? So I didn't know like what that could even be. I never thought that I had a voice for anything like that. And then I would just like, whenever I would do karaoke, I would always do hip hop songs. And then somebody was like, I think you have like a really good voice for hip hop, because I kind of do this like Mike D, Fran Dresser, like nasally kind of voice. And I'm from Jersey.
I can't wait to hear
like,
this.
Jersey accent comes out, and my husband has like a smooth, like nice voice, so it really goes well together. But realizing that I have a voice, everybody has a voice. I just didn't know what my voice was or how to use it, and realizing that like I do have a voice that could be in a band, and I'm taking singing lessons now, and I realized that I could actually sing and match pitch, which is freaking crazy because I never thought that I could do that. Is like changed my life.
Wow, what a beautiful story. You and Cassie have a lot to talk about too. It's very parallel. When I met her, she was feeling that way, and it's just, if you give yourself. So let me ask you this. Let me ask you about your experience rather than tell you more of mine. What had you give yourself permission to sing when you or where? Let me ask. Let's go back further. Where did you decide, or did someone tell you that you couldn't sing?
Yes. Okay. So someone told my mom when she was younger that she couldn't sing. So she's like, no one in our family can sing. And then as I was growing up, I was a dancer, and I was in a lot of plays and things. And one time the person in charge of the whole thing, the director, he was like, I think that you should just like shut up and dance. So basically he told me to lip sync and just dance because I can't sing.
And how old were you?
That was in high school.
Do you remember the age though? Can you pinpoint like?
I was in Guys and Dolls, and I think I want to say that was like my sophomore year. And like, what is so crazy is if I was like nurtured in a way, I actually have a perfect voice for that play, because like the that is so nasally. Like I totally could have done that.
If I only could be a guy. Yeah, there was like, yeah, there's that whole thing, yeah.
Yeah, I've actually like recently, since realizing this, that I like can sing, I just have a character kind of voice. I've kind of had to grieve like what my life could have been, because if I was a dancer who could sing, that would have opened up so many more doors for me, and I just kind of shut those things down because I was like, that's not something I can do, and so I didn't even try.
So when did you try? When did you allow yourself to sing?
I mean, this year.
Okay, so how long have you been?
Realized that I could match pitch like last week.
Wow,
this is brand new.
That's awesome. Wow, yeah. Well, I want to celebrate that for sure. Woo!
Yeah, I have an amazing vocal coach. His name is Keith. I highly recommend him. He's incredible.
It's not Keith Richards.
No.
Okay. Where are you based?
I'm in Burlington, Vermont.
Burlington, Vermont. Oh, that's right. And you grew up in Jersey?
Yeah, Ringwood, New Jersey.
Wow. Okay, cool.
Yeah.
And so when did you, so your handle is Rockin' Life, which I just love. So when did you, I mean, I feel like you've probably been rocking life for a long time. How long do you feel like you've been rocking life?
I mean, I rocked life when I was little, and then I lost it for a long time, and then it came back, I would say, probably like in my 30s.
Was there something that happened that you felt that really had you shut that down?
I got really caught up in the things that I should be doing instead of the things I wanted to be doing, and also like adulting. I kind of like lost who I was and the playful person that I am and the wild person that I am. And, you know, going to music and live music experiences really helped me to realize that, because I would go to music and I'd be like, I feel like the truest expression of my authentic self. And then I would go home and like put a mask on and be like, ready to adult now. And I didn't know how to merge the two. So I was like really lost. And my life was really out of alignment. And I slowly started to take the way that I feel at music. I kind of put words to it. Like, I feel expressed when I'm there. I feel present. I feel connected to something bigger than myself. I feel joy. I feel bliss. And then how could I incorporate those feelings into my everyday activities, whether I'm driving to work, I'm in the shower, I'm making my lunch. And then by doing that slowly, like that felt really good. And then I slowly like kind of stopped doing the things that like didn't make me feel really good and said yes to the things that were. And then now here I am, my own boss, doing all these weird things.
It was that simple. So just stop saying no to things and tell yes to things to do, and you're here.
Yeah, I wrote a whole book about it too. It's called How to Rock Your Life, and the tagline is maintain the magic of live music in your everyday experience.
Oh wow, that's amazing. So when did you? So one thing I love to talk about here too is self-care as part of, you know, getting well, and I really believe doing what you love is part of self-care, and we can even define success as just like, are you doing the things you love, right? How would you define, like, what's part of your self-care? What are things that you don't give up? I mean, you've created a whole lifestyle around music and self-care, but what would you say are your non-negotiable self-care things?
Yeah, live music, number one.
Yeah.
That is my number one self-care thing. My meditation practice is really important to me. Moving my body, whether it's dancing, I do daily workouts, going for walks, riding my bike, just being really active is so important to me. Also watching sunsets, and I would say, what else? Mushrooms.
In what way? Being around them, eating them, cooking them?
All of it.
Tripping on them, all of the things. Yes.
All the things. Microdosing.
Medicinally. Yeah.
Yeah.
Beautiful. And how did you just like figure out how to implement live music? So usually people are trying to figure out how to save up money so that they can go see a show. How did you really make it a part of your life and integrate it as your self-care?
Yeah, well, as I said before, it was like the first place where I felt really safe to be the like most wild expression of my authentic self. So, but I wasn't using it in the right way at first because my life was so out of alignment that when I got there, I like couldn't handle how amazing it was. So I would like drink all the things, do all the things, and then I like couldn't remember, and I would feel terrible on Monday. And then it was like I was waiting for the next thing, and I was never being present in my everyday experience. And I was like, live music is so important to me. What if I could use that as like part of my self-care and part of the thing that makes me even healthier and the thing that can motivate me to live a even better life? So I kind of shifted from it being this like just party to actually like something like, I think that corporations should pay for concert tickets for people's well-being. And doing my podcast, Groove Therapy, my co-host did her dissertation on live music being medicine, and she's always talking about this research and science that backs all of this. And it's like, if you can use the live music experience intentionally for like bettering your health and it's like it's happening anyway, and if you can intentionally use it, it's going to make it even more powerful. So by doing little things like setting intentions before the show, taking moments to just be present while it's happening, and then integrating the experience after, it's been like one of the most transformative things in my life.
That's great advice right there. I was just going to ask you what advice you might give to, especially maybe adults over 25 who just are out of college, right? Who are feeling like they need to just do all the adulting and the business stuff and the job and the family, and wondering where and how to make time for themselves. How do you bring what you do to those conversations?
Yeah, it's kind of what I was saying before of like, if they're really into, I mean, for me, it's live music. Maybe they're really into golf, or they're really into, I don't know, what are people into? Stamp collecting, like whatever it is that they're really into that makes them really happy. It's identifying those feelings that you feel when you are in that happy place, and then bringing it into your everyday and doing it in small ways. Like, it's not like you have to quit your job and buy a tie-dyed onesie and start going to music festivals every day. Like, it doesn't have to look like that. But how can you feel the way that you feel when you're on the golf course or collecting stamps or going to live music, when you're taking a shower, when you're making meals for your 5 kids that you have, when you're on your commute and it's like crazy and you're on a train and there's all these people around you? Like, how do you bring that into that? Or even into your work, how do you bring those feelings into that? And so it's like, it's not like you're going to feel that way all day, every day, but if you can feel the way a little bit every day, it's going to change your life.
And so do you go see live music every single day?
No. So that is also another thing. That is a balance. Like, people can use live music to escape.
Yeah.
I use live music to be present. And so because of that, if I went to music every day, I wouldn't have time for like anything else in my life. And especially as I'm getting older, I get really tired. And so like, I don't think I could do that.
Yeah.
Like, I can take a lot of naps after a weekend of music. I'm like, I definitely don't want to go see music on a Monday after a weekend. I'm like good till like Wednesday or Thursday.
Yeah, that's great. I can understand. Yeah, I'm learning. I'm still recovering from last weekend. So learning about balance and especially when you're performing too, like putting out a lot of energy. So you've mentioned performing and coaching and holding space and podcast and seeing live music. Writing, creating, how do you find balance? How do you make all this work?
Yeah, it's like, it's so interesting because everyone's like, you must be so busy, but like, I honestly don't feel like I'm that busy. I also don't have any children, so I definitely understand seeing my sister who has 4 kids and my sister-in-law who has 4 kids. It's way different for them. I don't have any, so like, if I want to take a nap, I take a nap. Like, I kind of can do whatever, so I know that that's way different. But I have really good boundaries with my work-life balance. So I feel like I'm not working that much. And also because I've created these strategies of using ADHD as like my entrepreneurial superpower. Hyper focus is one of the big things of people with ADHD. So I'm like, the worst thing you can do is tell me I have all day to complete a task, because it will take me all day. But I could actually probably do it in 30 minutes if you set a timer for 30 minutes and tell me I have 30 minutes. So I like to like use that superpower of like, I'm going to get like all this shit done in 30 minutes and I have the rest of the day to play. And I get so much more done now than I ever did before like doing that. Actually, when I first started working for myself, I locked myself in my home office from 9 to 5 because that's what you're supposed to do.
Right.
And then now it's like I work from like 12 to 2 and I get way more done.
Oh, yeah. Yeah. Yeah, I relate. Yeah, that's sort of my hours. I'm like, I just decided to give myself my mornings to do whatever I want, and that was way better. I suddenly realized I was taking care of myself first, and that had a lot. Like, I was a much better partner and coach and everything else. So I really appreciate and want to reflect that that time that you give yourself, and that you said boundaries too. I want to come back to ADHD, but with boundaries, were you going to say something?
Well, with the boundaries,
tell us.
I used to because I'm a recovering people pleaser, and I never wanted to like have, I was like available all of the time.
Yeah, that was my next question. Was there any time when you didn't have good boundaries?
Yes. So then I'd be like meeting with clients at like
Yeah.
10:30 at night and at 6 in the morning, even though like I don't wake up till like 8:30 or 9, and just was like not good. So now I have my calendar and it's like I'm only available from 12 to 2 for appointments on Tuesday and Thursday, and like that's it. I once in a while will make an exception, but like that is extremely rare.
Cool. So I bet you that time is pretty much always booked in that case because it's like
Yeah.
a infinite time, right? So you really want
Yeah,
to make
and
sure it counts.
yeah, and if it's important, like if it's important for people to work with me, they figure out how to make that time work.
I love that. Yeah. Thank you for saying that again, especially for all those people who are working for themselves and feel like you've got to work around all the other schedules out there. I remember leading my first group program and adding another group program at night, which was my rule to not do. Like I was like, this time I'm only going to have one during the day, and then I got so many no's because all these guys are saying, oh, I have to work during the day, I can only do it at night. And I was thinking, well, at that point, I also needed to pay my rent, so it was like, I didn't want to turn people away, and so I was trying to figure out, and so I started bending myself, right? But that immediately started opening the doors for more of that nighttime activity, which is exactly the opposite of what I was creating. So already I see, and I used to be like, my friends called me the yes man because I just said yes to everybody all the time. I was always available, so I can really understand the people pleasing stuff too. So how did you shift that for yourself? How did you go from being always available to, well, let me ask you that even before then, like, was there a time when it really, did you hit a bottom ever where you were like, wow, like this is enough? What was that like?
Yeah, I can't remember a specific time, but I'm sure there was, because I remember being super annoyed that I like had things all the time. I really don't thrive very well on having a lot of scheduled things that are the same all the time, and especially if they're like at night or in the morning when I'm not at my optimal, which also like isn't beneficial to anybody. So I can't remember a specific time, but I do know like the technology of having, I don't call it Calendar Lily, but I think it's like Calendly, where I can book, and I put my schedule on there. So I was like, well, I just put it there, and then most of the times, and if someone says they can't do it, I'm like, well, sorry, you have to find a time on my schedule.
Yeah, that's great.
The technology
I love that.
really helped me to like stick to that.
Yeah, when you could use technology. So yeah, so have you ever been overwhelmed by technology? I know sometimes those of us with
like all the time.
ADHD, yeah, there's like so many things.
Yeah, and being middle-aged, like I'm like, actually, I had to figure out how to print stuff and scan stuff, and I was like, I don't think I've used a printer or a scanner in like 20-something years, and I was really confused, and I was asking all these questions. I felt like when I taught my grandma how to use a flip phone, like I felt like I was like my grandma.
That's great.
So I get like confused a lot. People think I'm so good at it, and I am not. Like I only know how to do the simple things.
So how did you even allow yourself to like have a transformation around that? Because you said, what was the thing just before? It was about, I don't know, I lost it, but
ADHD?
yeah, exactly. It was the tasking. It was organizing and going from all this open availability, right? How did you start to create those boundaries?
Okay, well, so also I read the book The Big Leap by Gay Hendricks. I don't know if you've ever read that, but he talks about different zones that you could live in.
Is that like a super, super short book?
Yeah, it's pretty little. It's like, because I can't.
It's not like 12 or 20 pages.
It's more than that. It's probably
Okay.
like 100 something.
Yeah, no, then I haven't read that.
Oh, it's
Big
so
Leap.
great.
I think I've just heard about it a lot.
Yeah, well,
So I was in a
highly
program
recommend
called The
it.
Leap that I think was based on that book, but I can't tell you for sure.
That's so funny. Well, so one of the things is he talks about the 4 zones. So you have zone of incompetence, which I always call zone of incontinence because I'm so bad at things it makes me pee. But that's like the stuff that you're just like terrible at. And then zone of competence, which is like you could do it, but like you're not great. Zone of excellence, which is a place a lot of people get stuck because you might be the best at it, but it's like it drains you and it's not that exciting. And then zone of genius, which is like what you could do all day, every day. And so he says that you should be delegating the things to other people that it's their zone of genius to do those things so you can be your own genius. And at first, when you're starting, you kind of have to hustle and do all the things, but then that really helps you to see what you're not a genius at. So I have a business partner, Katie, who is like, whew, she's my right, left hand. Like if I had more hands, she would be those two. And she does all the tech stuff and holds me accountable for things and is so amazing. And that's her genius, and like copywriting. So having her has really like has freed up so much time for me, because I'll try to figure out something. It'll take me like 25 hours, and then I'll just ask her to do it, and it takes her like 5 minutes. So I'm like,
I can relate to
I
that.
stopped
Yeah.
wasting time. Like most of the time now, I just ask her right away, and then she's like, done.
That's amazing. Yay, thank you, Katie.
Yeah.
I just got off the phone with my Katie. Her name is Becky. Before this, and I was just thinking about that. We were sharing this in general, and it was funny because I had this intuition earlier. Like I should really share this exercise with her, because I have people I work with, and I have them train me on how to train them. Sometimes, even when I don't know what to do, I'm like, "Well, can you help me tell you what to do?" Because I know you're good at doing something here, and maybe I can't hear it or enunciate it, but what am I not getting? And I think bringing other people in. But I had this intuition to share what I called the energy assessment, and that's exactly what it was. This exercise to a T, and I didn't realize where it was sourced from. So you just brought that full circle for me. That's really cool. Yay. I think that's a good thing for everyone to practice, just to take even a few minutes. I learned it like on a graph, and just putting like the things and we even broke it down. I like how you said it. So we'll leave people with that for now. When did you discover that when were you first diagnosed with ADHD?
Yeah. Well, okay. So my parents I didn't get diagnosed till college, but then they were like, oh yeah, when you were little, they said that you had that, and they wanted to put you on Ritalin, and we were like, we don't want to do that. But they never told me, so I didn't know that was a thing. But then in college, like I kind of did all the classes that I could do really well at, like with the way that my brain works. But then all of a sudden I had all the classes that were lectures and multiple choice, and I'm like,
oh my God.
At that. And
yes.
so I started failing all of those, because I was in one class where the multiple choice, I was like doing terrible, but then the one that was essay, which is supposedly harder, I was getting hundreds, and they were like, you obviously know the information, there's something wrong here. And that's when I got tested, and like immediately there's like ADHD, auditory processing, there's a couple like other things.
And was that empowering for you?
Oh my gosh, yes. So I was put on medication at that time, which I'm not medicated now, but I was then. And also I got to take my tests in my own room. I never had to do a multiple choice test again, except when I did my driver's test license like 4 years later when I moved back to New Jersey, and I failed it 3 times. And even though I'd been driving for like 10 years already. And yeah, it was like so empowering. Also, like having the medication, I was like, oh, this is how normal people can do things. Like, oh, I see how you can now sit through a class. Like, that's a possibility that you can do. And like, this is how you can like stay true to one task and like do it. But then after college, I like slowly got off the medication and kind of started realizing how my brain is amazing. I mean, back in the hunter-gatherer days, we weren't people with ADHD. We were the freaking rock stars that everyone wanted to be like. So I don't think there's nothing really wrong with it. It's just a different way that our brain does stuff.
Yeah. Thank you for saying that.
And so if you can figure out how to do that, like we're not supposed to sit in desks. We're not supposed to be in a freaking cubicle. Like we're not supposed to pay attention for 8 hours a day. Like that's just impossible. But what if we did things that we didn't have to do that? I know that it's really helped me and all the people that I work with. It's like game changing to realize there's nothing wrong with you. You're actually amazing.
Yes. I love that. It's so rarely taught, especially I think in our generations where, our parents were taught by people in the Depression and going through a scarcity and trying to fit in the boxes in order to get the things. And that's like, I was just rewatching the show Weeds last night. It was like definitely not nearly as good as I remember it. And there was all this like just profanity and slandering and like racism and bigotry and and hate speech. I was like, whoa, it was wild to see how much we've changed. And so there was never spaces to celebrate all kinds of people. Like one of the things I'm really excited about doing with music is this weekend we're playing a huge gala to support a Waldorf school here in Rhinebeck called the Primrose Hill School. And they're a neurodiverse campus, and they teach kids mostly outside, and there's farm animals around. And these kids know more about the land. Yeah, I wish I had gone to school here. I'm like, can I grow up again here? But it's been so healing for them and for me, and I got the opportunity to teach here, which is what brought me to this land. And I was teaching circus camp with these kids, and I was thinking about, wow, the opportunity to get to play all the time, like literally be playful, and that these kids aren't taught that they're any one thing. They just get to play together. And I had one teacher, because I also grew up in Tennessee. And it wasn't till the end of high school when a friend who was a doctor said, maybe Benjamin has this thing. And we tried, like I started taking tests untimed or in different rooms. And it, again, like you said, it was a game changer for me too. I couldn't even finish a page of a book without knowing. Yeah. You know, it was just, but I would excel at other things too. So it was really confusing. And I think for me, that was helpful. And I had one teacher. So this is full circle. This is what I meant to say. And he was an art teacher. And gosh, I can't quite place his name right now, but I can see his face. And he, you know, I was mentioning ADHD at one point. Oh, we were in a visual design class. That was the other cool thing about it. And he was saying, you know, I have ADHD. And I was like, wow, you too. This is the first time I'd had a grown adult say that to me and be proud of it. Like in the South, everyone was hiding everything back then. No one was out sexually or anything. And he's like, yeah, you know, I think everyone should take medication to be like us. And I was so relieved. It was the first time I'd ever heard someone say that. And I didn't even, it's almost like he gave me permission at that point. And so what do we tell ourselves if we need someone else to say that? You know, what was I telling myself before that I needed in order to belong? Or, you know, what skills was I not developing? And suddenly I saw, oh, artists could be a great way, like, to use this, right? But we're taught that it's an impediment, right? So was there ever a time when you were really taught, like, that this is something that's wrong with you?
Oh, yeah. I was told I was, like, lazy, crazy, stupid my entire life. I wasn't living up to my potential. Like, that's what I heard all the time. I could do so much better if I just sat down and studied and paid attention and all these things. And I was like, well, I tried that and it didn't work. So now I don't even try.
Yeah.
Because either way, it's not working.
Yeah.
So I was told that my whole life. But because I was like, you know, I was entertaining and funny and nice, and like the teachers all liked me. So I never, like, I kind of slid under the radar because I was getting like I would get some A's, some C's, mostly B's. So that's nothing, no cause for concern and no reason why I would need support. But once I got it, I was like, that was another thing where, like how I talked about how I had to grieve that I can actually sing and the missed opportunities. I also had to grieve when I learned about the ADHD thing and started working on that, of like grieving what could have been if I had all these tools and knew how to use them, or if I went to a Waldorf school or whatever.
Yeah,
that
right.
Like.
Oh my God. I was like,
grieve that, you know, I'm so grateful for where I am, but still that's really sad.
That's laughter recognition here right now. So yeah, it's like tears on the other side of that. Yeah, thank you for sharing that with us, TaraLeigh. So you'd said that sometime in college was when you got your diagnosis? Yeah,
because I was like starting to fail out of college because I couldn't avoid the classes that I like. I was like putting them. It was actually the classes everybody else wanted to take because it was easy for them. And that's the ones that I was avoiding. And eventually I had to take them. And then I was like, I'm going to fail out of college now. So I had to do something. And then a teacher told me, and then I got tested. I think that was like my junior year.
Yeah. And then right then, did it start to turn around for you?
Yeah, for sure.
And so for anyone who's not sure, or even like, has been tested but doesn't feel like empowered by it, what would you say is some access to starting to turn to shift your mindset, or to gain some tools? Like, how do we start to use it as our superpower?
Yeah. Well, I always like to think about like, what if this wasn't the thing I'm struggling with, but like this is the reason I can thrive. So it's not the reason that's ruining my life. What if it's the reason I could thrive? And then what would that look like, and what would that mean? If I'm in a job, like I worked in jobs where I was in a cubicle, okay, like I don't think I can do that anymore. So slowly taking the steps to be able to kind of live the way that you naturally are, and using your unique, magical, like things that you're naturally good at for you instead of against you. That was actually, I was leading a retreat with my friends, and we sent everybody into these like small support circles. And so we did it too as the leaders. And I lied on the ground and I was like, how can I freaking use myself like for me instead of against me like I have been? And I didn't even realize that was like a thing. And I was like, oh my God, like I guess that's what needed to come up. And then we just started talking about how, I have all these amazing ideas, but can I follow through with them? I don't know. But what if I like, what would it take to follow through with them? Or do I like partner with people so they can help me follow through with them? I'm great at starting stuff, but not finishing it. That hyper focusedness, I take risks all the time. So I was like, how can I use this to my advantage instead of like against me? And that was huge.
Mm, that's awesome. Um, and then when did you start giving yourself permission to, so out of this, what did you discover newly about yourself, or what did you, I guess, what do I want to ask you? Um, did you start seeing a shift in career path and choices, and how did you start to make a way for yourself out of,
Yeah.
from there? What were you
Yeah.
studying at the time when you found this out?
Well, so I was on, is it my third major? Yeah, it was my third major. I was first hotel, restaurant, travel administration, but I really wanted to be on the travel channel, and my parents tricked me into doing that. And I was like, I don't like this. It's just kind of funny because I lead retreats now, which is basically doing a lot of what I learned.
Yeah.
That's how that works. They were right. Anyway, and then I was physical education because I should have a normal job, and then I was a dance major, which is what I graduated with.
Oh, beautiful. So you had already given yourself permission to dance. That's really cool. Yeah. So was there ever, once you found this out, was there sort of a bottom before you started really finding your stride as an adult?
I mean, so when I was on medication, I was in college, I kind of was getting in a rhythm with stuff, and I had my own room to take my tests. Like I was thriving and I was doing really well. Also, I was getting to like create dance pieces all the time because I was a choreography major, and I was really like, it was great. But then when I graduated college, I was like, what is this? What is happening now?
Yeah.
And just like auditioning for things. Like I had like 1 trillion jobs, just trying to like make ends meet and figure out how to do all the things. Um,
Did you move
so
to
I
New
kind of got
York?
lost again. Yeah. I live actually right outside New York. I used to walk
Mm-hmm.
across the George Washington Bridge because it was faster to get to the city than it would be to take the bus.
So you're in the Bronx.
Well, yeah. And then I eventually got a job. I was a cheerleader for the NBA. I was a cheerleader for one team and a tumbler for the other, for the New Jersey Nets and the New York Knicks. And that was
Wow.
amazing. That was like, I loved that. So I kind of would go like in and out of doing things. And then like before that, I was a teacher in a public school teaching dance, and I hated it. Like I would, if the kids were sick, I would like get really close to them, hoping that they would give me whatever they had so I didn't have to go to work. And then I herniated a disc and got really hurt. And the doctor was like, you can't go to work. And I cheered. And he's like, I think you need to reevaluate some things because you shouldn't give a woo-hoo when you're like seriously injured.
Yeah.
That was a big like wake up moment.
Hmm. And what advice do and we've kind of talked about this, but You mentioned, so people who are, I keep thinking about like adults right now listening with kids who are trying to find their like magic and how they get organized, and they're just still stuck in their survival brain. Um, what do you think are some ways to access finding more joy, or even if they don't know what lights them up, to what are some ways to get curious about that and discover that?
Yeah, you got to slow down. Have a cup of coffee and catch your breath. Like, you might not be able to slow down for even an hour. Like, that might be impossible. But can you slow down for a day? Or can you even, like, before, if someone's texting you and you're getting a text on your phone, can you just stop and take a deep breath before answering that text? Like, how can you create some space in your life for who you are to emerge again? Even if that's, like, teeny tiny ways.
Yeah.
When you're in the shower. And again, it's that same thing too with what I was talking about before of infusing those like happy place feels into your everyday. It will help whoever you are to emerge again. So by creating space and also adding those things into the things that you're doing. And like, I know if you have, like, I see it with my friends and my family members that have a lot of kids, like it's really, really hard. So it might just be that when you're on the toilet and there's not kids coming in the bathroom with you, that you just put your hands on your heart and take 3 deep breaths. Like, just being really intentional with it and making it a priority if that's something that is important to you.
Yeah, I think that's really well said.
And you could bring your kids along for the journey.
That's
like,
really
hey,
true. Yeah.
When we sit down at the table, again, we're going to put our hands in our hearts and take 3 deep breaths, and we're going to say what we're grateful for today. And take that, your whole family will slow down before eating a meal together. And like, I think kids are really receptive to that kind of stuff.
Yeah, absolutely. Oh yeah, and they're great. I remember I was teaching kids acting, and there was a relaxation exercise, and these kids were just like, they were out. They could do it. They needed it. Their bodies wanted some facility. Even meditation. I know a lot of parents that meditate with their kids, and their kids really soak it up. Because we're the ones that I think add all the meaning to our lives and all the extra drama to it, right?
Yeah.
I love that you said slow down too. As soon as you said that, I remembered and I flashed back to so really, like, I had probably one of the best musical and life experiences ever of my entire life, of this life, this past weekend at the Shikori Festival. And I think it was because I let myself really have fun, even being relaxed while performing, and with my partner and with bandmates and with people I didn't know. I gave myself permission to play, and at one point when it was time to go was the time when I realized I had dropped the car keys somewhere, and I didn't know if it was, I assumed it was in with this like 100-foot range of me, but it also could have been like a half mile in the other direction. And I spent like an hour back tracing all my steps, and finally I came back in, and I had this look on my face. This woman was like, "Honey, what's wrong?" And I was like, well, we were supposed to leave. It's about 4:30 in the morning at this point. And I was like, and my keys fell out of my pocket somewhere. And other than being like, oh no, I'm so sorry, she was just like, oh honey, you need to get grounded. You ain't grounded. I was like, you're right. I am flying high. I am so like up here. I'm not grounded at all. You're right. Thank you. And so I just took a few breaths. I sat in the car again, and thank God for my partner, Cassie, just was really cool about it. And we're just like, well, I guess maybe we'll sleep in the car. We'll find them tomorrow. I don't know. Don't know what else we'll do out here. And just took a few deep breaths. And she was like, I just keep having a feeling it's over at this place where we rehearsed, and just go check again. And we took some breaths, and I just decided I was going to backtrace one more time. And as soon as I let go, the keys showed up right away. They were there. And of course, like, we were pretty relieved. We slept in a hotel for about 5 hours, I think. But, I'm going to remember that forever when I'm really struggling. I see sometimes I choose the stress. It's just familiar and it's patterning. And I like to think of sort of this inner diva be like, oh, honey, you're not grounded. You just need to like slow down.
Yeah.
And how important that is and how to balance that going from like the energy of a music festival, right? So here's another thing we could talk about is as a sensitive, creative, open-hearted person, and a recovering people pleaser, right? I've found, at least I'll speak for myself, that it's really easy to take on a lot of other people's energy. And then it can take me days, and I'll even get sick afterwards. I can really take on stuff. And that took me, 30 years to figure out before even getting to a solution. So do you ever struggle with that? Like being, someone who loves live music and likes to be in that energy. Do you ever take on energy that feels not healthy?
I definitely used to, but now I kind of feel like I'm more of a clear channel. So I can, like, one of my gifts is just meeting people wherever they're at and holding a non-judgmental space for that, whether it's just walking by and like sharing a smile or just even a look. Maybe no one wants to smile and we're looking at each other, or in a retreat space where someone says something they've been struggling with their whole lives and we're afraid to say out loud. So I definitely used to do that, but it didn't serve me or even actually like the world at all to be taking on everyone's energy. So I really have built, like, now it's a habit that is normal to me, but it took a while for sure to just kind of like have the energy just move through me and not get like stuck in me.
Mm-hmm. So yeah, do you have any practices that you do currently or in the past that have helped you kind of protect your energy or ground your energy or be more clear or practice letting it through?
Yeah, I definitely like my favorite thing is putting my hands on my heart and taking 3 deep breaths. And this woman at a songwriters retreat I did with my mom, Blue, she was like, I call this dropping in. And so she would, whenever anyone felt overwhelmed or anxious or whatever, be like, I need to drop in, and then would invite anyone who was around to drop in with, which is just take a deep breath in through your nose and out your mouth.
Let's do it.
Yeah. We'll do it 2 more times. In through your nose. Exhale out your mouth. And a deep breath in. And exhale out. Do you notice how different you feel? Just from that simple exercise. And in my podcast, I learned that your brain actually like lets go of the fight or flight by doing that and allows you to be more present and grounded and here. So when I start to feel overwhelmed, I'll do that. I take breaks a lot too. Like I'll go into my tent and just be like, I just need to be here for a bit and not people so much because I'm like a ambivert, I'm an extrovert and an introvert at the same time. So sometimes being around people is energizing and sometimes it's draining, and sometimes being alone is energizing and sometimes it's draining. So I really have to listen to myself and kind of honor who that is and take breaks if I need to and go be alone somewhere and meditate in the woods or in my tent or wrap myself in a weighted blanket if I brought it and like put on an episode of Sex and the City. Like whatever it is that I need in that moment really helps me to not take on everybody's energy. But I think it's really just like being present with myself helps me to be able to have it move through and not get stuck.
Yeah. That's great advice. And I think, giving yourself permission and making the space and actively practicing that sounds like has given you access to that too. I know from my wife and I.
Porta potty is like my sacred space sometimes.
Yeah.
Sounds gross, but
any place you can close the door.
Simple, right?
Yeah.
You can get away from
it's
it
kind
all
of
for
comforting in a small space.
Yeah.
Yeah, it took a long time. I didn't learn healthy attachment necessarily growing up, and so there was a lot of enmeshment and codependency that I had to untangle, and I didn't even know that people could take space and that be healthy and good. And
yeah, I didn't know that either.
Yeah, it took me forever to figure out how to take it myself. I started to learn how to let other people take their space from me. Like stop taking them hostage. But It was like myself. No, I had a mentor, a coach once that his only assignment was to take myself to a movie, and I didn't do it during that time. I used to be just so afraid to just be alone, and then I realized, well, I didn't really want to go. Like, I like sharing movies with people, so there's lots of other things I wanted. I was like, I'll go to a play by myself or something, or there was other things I would go to by myself. And I started learning that running was like my favorite date with myself. My wife and I, sometimes we really were striving to have a morning routine together of meditating and or a walk, but sometimes we needed different things, and I would get really attached, being like, well, this is our only time together, so if we don't have this, I'm gonna, it had some, like, I put weight on it in my self-care, and then suddenly I was like, oh, I can go do my thing now. And then I started loving that and wanting to do that more. And I wonder, you mentioned being a recovering people pleaser. How did you shift from giving away your time a lot to starting to own your time?
I'm trying to think if there was like,
or if there's any advice you might give people now who are kind of in that.
Yeah, well, it doesn't serve anybody. I think that actually, somebody said to me once, by being a people pleaser and being super selfish, it's like the last thing in the world is that I would want to be is selfish. You're like, oh my God. Because you're like enabling behavior for people. Yeah. You're like stopping, you're making it so they can't figure out things themselves. You're also like making yourself so available. Like, that just isn't good in any of the ways. So when somebody said that to me, that I'm actually helping others by having boundaries and taking that time for myself, that really like was a big shift, because I was like, well, I want to help people, I don't want to be selfish.
Yeah. And taking time for yourself, I'm guessing they were saying that because that's like putting the oxygen mask on yourself first, so it allows you to show up whole and complete and not like desperate or needy. And it took me forever to get that. So I'm gonna drop a confession here, especially vulnerable, because I'm speaking in front of a woman, but I really had something about, like, I thought I attracted angry women into my life for a long time. I remember my mom being really angry and all these partners and girlfriends. I'm like, God, why do I attract all these angry women? And then finally one of these women was like, well, what if you just don't know how to be with anger, Ben? And I was like, boom. And it, because when you stop people pleasing, people stop being pleased sometimes. And I trained so many people around me that I was so afraid to upset them. And like, people being angry at me was like I learned it just felt like too much, because I was already beat myself up a lot. And I also took it on. So one of the things you shared, was like, how do you just let that flow and let that go and just be with people? And sometimes it's not even about you, and I learned to be with anger in a new way. And I realized I wasn't really comfortable with my own anger. So I started learning to make spaces to express that safely, because I was also taught as a kid, when I was in a household where things weren't cool, I would express a lot of anger and outwardly, because no one else was, and I was told that was really bad and wrong. And so
me too.
Yeah?
Yeah.
So that resonated.
Like,
yeah. You're like, so I'll just dance.
Yeah.
Yeah. I did karate.
Yeah, I did like acrobatics. Like, I was like outside in my yard flipping around like all day.
Yeah, the soccer ball. Yeah, it was good.
Yeah.
Well, I'm glad we found things that like brought us here safely today. TaraLeigh, it's really, really special to have you here. And I want to thank everybody who's listening and a part of this, especially if there's someone who you're thinking of, you're like, man, I this person in my life just got to hear this. Please give them the gift of sharing it with them, and us and the algorithms the gift of sharing positive medicine out in the world, because God knows there's so many other kinds of messages. And if this really resonated with you, tell us. And follow TaraLeigh at Rocking Life and her podcast, Groove Therapy. And what's the name of your book again?
It's How to Rock Your Life.
How to Rock Your Life. Awesome. And where is that available?
On like all the book places.
Cool. Just like type it in, how to rock your life.
Yeah, I actually found we just like sold one of our houses. That sounds crazy. One of our houses, like we have like a million houses. That's not true, but we had this other house we just sold, and I found a box of my books in the basement. So you could reach out to me, and I have some that I could sign for you.
Woo! I might do that. I want a signed copy.
Yeah.
I definitely will take you up on that. That's also for the listeners, though, I assume, too. So, yes, for everybody, please reach out to her. So I have a few closing questions for you. Do you have a few more minutes?
I do.
Okay, cool. And thank you for being so generous with your time. It's been really cool to get to talk to you on here. And I just, like, there's so much more I want to talk to you about after this.
I know.
And I really hope you and Cassie can connect too.
Yeah, me too.
You know, I do want to say, you know, I can hear her downstairs singing, and our band Dirty May has a big show coming up, and we're really trying to figure out how to do more music for a cause to help the world and help self-expression and create healing through music. And so I just want to give a shout out to everyone who supports live music, whether you're a fan or a musician or, you know, the crew behind the scenes, and especially the people who who use live music as therapy and support, like the people like you who are out there. I mean, you can ask any one of my friends' bands. I'm like always the guy in the front row, also like, yeah. You know, and I think it's really important to allow ourselves to play and be free. And so it was so wonderful to meet you in that way. And I just kept thinking, wow, this is how I want to live my life. Cassie would say that to me too. And we have to remind each other, this is how we're living our life. Like, this is our life. So welcome to it. Magic is normal and everywhere. What is it? Magic is everywhere. Magic is normal.
And I'm so grateful.
Yeah. And I'm so grateful. I'm really grateful for you and magic bringing us together. What is, so the questions I love to close with are this. What is do you have a daily self-care routine or an ideal routine of the things that I asked you about, your sort of non-negotiables in life for self-care, but is there stuff that you do every day that you found really works for you?
Yeah, I do. So I meditate for 1 minute a day. And if I feel like doing more, I do more. But my ADHD brain is like, well, I could do a minute. I usually end up doing more. But if I was like, I have to meditate for 5 minutes every day, I'm probably not going to do it. But 1 minute I will do. And that's 365 minutes of meditation a year that I wouldn't have done if I didn't do that. So meditating 1 minute a day. I do this workout that it's like a HIIT workout, but I kind of invented it. And it's definitely really good for ADHD because by the time I'm bored, I'm done with the thing. It moves pretty quickly. Nice. So I do that almost every day, and then I make an epic brunch. So whatever that means, I usually have like a salad that is like the size of my body, and a sandwich, and a smoothie, and decaf coffee. I have like this whole like spread that I have every day, and then I watch some cheesy program on TV while I eat it. And I would say those are like the three things I do almost every day.
That is awesome. I love everything about that. That was very inspiring too. I'm like, oh, I could add in, an epic brunch. Cause that inspires me. Cause I like to cook sometimes, but I think just calling it epic would make me want to do it even more.
Yeah, I started doing it. And then when my nieces that are like little came to visit, I was like, I'm going to make you epic brunch. And now they ask for epic brunch like all year, but I just made them like
epic brunch.
Yeah, that's what they do. I'm literally just making them bread with like an egg on it, where their like father makes them like pancakes from scratch and stuff. And then they're like, I want tatas, like epic brunch.
That's amazing.
I just branded it really well.
Yeah, you did. That's great. So if your life were a Hollywood film, what would be the title of it? What would you name it?
That's interesting.
Great. And what would your husband name it? If he could name it.
She's weird.
Perfect. And if you could cast anyone in Hollywood as your parents, who would you cast?
Oh my gosh. Who would play my parents? I don't know. I try to think of who, like, they're, okay, so they're, like, obsessed with the Yankees. I don't even know who it would be, but they're obsessed with the Yankees. Like, I'm obsessed with live music.
Uh-huh.
And they dress like, the way that I dress in sparkles every day, they dress head to toe in Yankee gear every day.
Your parents.
Yeah.
That's great.
And my mom is, like, really little with, like, big curly hair. I don't know who's that. Does that description help you think of, like, any people?
Well, I could, but always find it more fun to let the guests do that.
I know, I can't think of
Some
any
people have used
actors.
cartoon characters, even.
I don't know. I really can't think. I might have to, like, get back to you on this one.
That's okay. It's one that stuffs people the most. It's, like,
Right,
kind of weird.
I
Feels like,
like
well, my
anybody,
parents suck, so I like these two people. They're gonna be my parents in this movie.
Yeah, no, my parents are awesome, so I don't know. Well, I'd want to cast Derek Jeter as my dad, just so my mom could, like, that will, like, make her live her best life.
That's amazing. There you go. And then your mom could play your mom.
Yeah, my mom will play my mom.
In the role of a lifetime. Derek Jeter. And Mama Weathers brings.
Oh no, it's so
she's weird.
Yeah, she's weird.
Coming to theaters everywhere.
Yeah.
That's great. And if you could give the world one gift today, what would you give us?
To drop in and invite other people to drop in with you. And that is the saying, I need to drop in right now. Teaching it to your family and friends so you can use it out in the wild. And I just need to drop in. Put your hands in your heart, take 3 deep breaths, and invite other people to do it with you.
So I'm thinking of, like, being in the middle of an argument with Cassie and her be like, I'm sorry, I need to drop in right now. And be like, oh, okay, well, fine, I'll drop in too.
Yeah.
Probably make it so much better.
Really, like, when we're, like, Dan and I are arguing about a song lyric, be like, let's drop in. A lot of times you just need that space. It's like we were talking before. How do you, like, figure out who you are and what you want? You got to slow down and take space. So that's like the biggest thing I think I could leave with people right now.
And if we were all dropped in, what do you see us all doing?
Everybody would be so much happier because they would start not being embarrassed of the truest, authentic expression of themselves, and they would let it out. If everybody in the whole world can do that, our world would be an amazing place. It'd be like life is a festival.
Yes, I love that. I love that. Well, thank you so much, TaraLeigh, for your time and for all your generous wisdom and truth and love and magic today. It's been a pleasure. If we want to follow you...
Thank you so much for having me.
Oh, yes. Sorry, you're so welcome. If we want to follow you, what's the best place to send people?
Yeah, I'm pretty active on Instagram. It's at Rocking Life with 2 underscores after. You can also check out my website, rockinglife.com.
Okay, Rocking Life with 2 underscores. Cool. I'll put that in the link here. And I'll also be posting this episode soon for those of you listening live. And so you can replay and take notes and get all the juicy wisdom in there. And I'll be promoting it everywhere, so you can't miss it.
Yeah, and if it's at the end, but if you have ADHD, you should probably listen in 30-minute blocks.
Oh yeah, I was even
really
thinking about that. Yeah, like or even 20-minute blocks is cool.
Yeah. The average for ADHD person is 30 minutes, but that's not everybody for sure. Some people it's like 5 minutes. Some people 45 minutes. It's like whatever it is for you, that's perfect.
That's a great nugget of wisdom too, just to remember to take things in smaller bites too. I mean, I think you can't ever fail, because even if you want to do a lot of it, you could do a lot of small bites all day, and you might actually crush life.
Yes, that's in the accountability coaching. That's what I do. They have their big goal, and I'm like, okay, well, what can I hold you accountable for that you could do this week? And sometimes it's like, have a conversation with that person, write 1 email. Like, oftentimes it's not like getting to where you want to go isn't as hard. If you think of like, okay, I want to lose 100 pounds, you're not going to do that in a day. It's going to take you a long time with a lot of really small changes for that to be possible. So it's the same thing for achieving a goal. Like, you just have to do tiny things every day, and then after a year, if you even took 1 baby step every day for 365 days, you're going to get pretty far.
That's true. I loved that. I love the 1 minute meditation mark too. Because a lot of us think, oh, I suck at this, I have to do this forever. Well, your brain thinks, and that's how, it works, and starting with 1 minute can change your life.
Yeah.
Right?
And you could do almost anything for 1 minute, I think. Even if you hate it. You could do it every day for 1 minute, even if it's like you hate it. But you'll start to like it. I promise. I think,
this is great. I had a buddy that's like, you have to do everything in 2 minutes this week. And if you can't do it in 2 minutes, you're going to wait till next week. And I got so much done. Like, I put away all my laundry, and like things were put away around the house because I was thinking, well, it's only going to take 2 minutes to get a little further to where it needs to go.
Yeah.
And it became such a fun game with myself. So I really like that you're doing that. And while we're talking about it, because we're just, let's keep going for one more minute. What are the other programs that you have going on where we can dive into Rocking Life?
Yeah, so I have Rocking Life Entrepreneur, which is a course. It's a self-paced course for people that want to try on their entrepreneurial hat. And you also learn how to use ADHD as your entrepreneurial superpower. It's a really amazing course. So I highly recommend that if that's something you want to try. There's that, and then I have accountability coaching, where it's either me or other Rocking Life coaches meet with people every week for 15 minutes to go over the to-do list that we create together, and also work on like mindset within that. And that has been really powerful. And people that thought that they didn't know how to like get from A to B are like getting there really quickly. It's pretty amazing when you break it down and stop being overwhelmed, and then that makes you unstuck. It's pretty amazing what happens when the floodgates open. So that's pretty awesome. And then I have a retreat that's coming up in March, and it's in Puerto Vallarta, Mexico, and it's called Sparkle in the Sun, where adulting doesn't exist. So I talked about that before, but there's that. And I think in January I'm going to do a retreat in Vermont for people that want to do retreats, because I've done over 20 retreats, and I have a magical formula on how to make them work, and so a lot of people want to learn how to do that, so I'm going to do it.
Oh my gosh. Well, I can't be there because I'll be leading a retreat in Costa Rica for people who want to bring music into their life as performance, to learn guitar and yoga and surfing and Tai Chi. But I would love to do your retreat just to learn more tools in the future. So for all you retreaters out there, come to Costa Rica, then come to Vermont, and then go to Puerto Vallarta, and it'll be awesome. Like the coolest holiday season ever. And you'll get some warm weather in there too. That's the key. I always it sounds like you're pretty good at going away in the winter too.
Yeah, I leave all winter. I spent a month in Nicaragua alone last year.
That's beautiful.
That's a whole nother episode to talk about that situation.
Yeah. Well, we made it back here today. Yeah. So that's what matters. Well, thank you again, TaraLeigh, and thanks everybody listening. Oh, will you give us a dude you're getting well to take us out?
Yeah. Like, just say it?
Yeah.
All right. Right now?
Yeah, go for it.
All right. Dude, you're getting well.
Ooh, yeah, I like that one. Thank you so much.